You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hello.
And hello.
Well, hello.
Wah.
So it sounds like everyone's got pneumonia around here. It's like
Pretty
a
much.
TB ward with all of this, like.
Is it secret cup cough?
No, I just took a dab cough.
Oh, okay.
You mean, oh, okay. Like, how unpleasant is that? And Chris is over here. He's been coughing now for 7.5 minutes. He did not just take a dab. That's right. I know. So don't do it.
Crazy producer.
Just because Jeremy says, would you like a dab? You can say, no, thank you. It makes me cough for now going on 8 minutes.
It's kind of like an alcoholic saying, like I only drink beer.
You're not on enough.
You only drink
Are
beer
we
when
on?
you have hard alcohol? Stuff like that when you do shots? I only have beer when I do shots. I only smoke when I drink.
I mean, I think people do stuff like that. I only cough when I do dabs. Is that what you're saying?
No, I know I cough a lot when I smoke weed, but that's because I quit smoking cigarettes
Yay.
a long time ago.
Well, today is the 29th of September, 2014, and it is the last Monday of
Stupendous September!
Stupendous September. And it's been a pretty stupendous September, I have to say.
I meant
With
to
an
text.
emphasis on stupid.
Well, we are going to talk about some stupid stuff, aren't we, Warren?
Yeah.
We have to
we
end
are.
the month with some of these things, and some things are so
Someone just
stupid.
puked out there.
We bring in a
That's
lawyer
a dog
for it.
puke.
Oh God! Hopefully it wasn't Gnu right in front of the fan.
Oh, I think it was. So it'll add
It's okay,
to the
he'll eat,
ambiance.
he'll eat
Awesome.
it. It's
I
no
know
big
what's
deal.
happening at first break today.
If you didn't feel sick before, you
You
will
do now. So sorry. We won't talk about poop because we talked about vomit.
Oh, come on.
But the word came up, so we're good.
We're good. So in the studio today we have, of course, producer Chris, who's done coffee now, and one of our wonderful interns, Ronell. Hello.
Hello.
The girl that makes everything okay, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
And our special guest tonight is attorney Warren Edson of Edson, Maton and Matz, who is going to, in a few minutes, do a couple of things. One of which is try to explain to us what the new Marijuana Enforcement Division rules look like that go into effect in October and have a variety of effective dates after that. However, they have some technical difficulties. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
Med had some technical difficulties.
And technical difficulties were not that technical in my mind, that when you publish something and you publish it in two different places, those documents should be the same. You should just paste one in one spot and paste one in...
But, come on. People make mistakes, and we all have sent an email with the wrong thing attached. It's just surprising when it's the State Enforcement Division. And these have been out for 10 days probably?
Yes.
And our latest comes, from downloading the latest forms just an hour and a half ago and going, holy crap.
Well, one of the things, so as you all know, in Colorado, we have a pretty intricate system of laws and rules and regulations that govern both recreational and medical marijuana sales. And those
And to make things really difficult, we made those rules different.
Right. Despite the fact that
It's the same weed.
it looks pretty similar.
No, it's the same. Well, yeah, except one got tagged as a baby as medical, and the other got tagged as a baby as recreational.
Right.
But it depends on what definition you read,
right.
which we'll get into.
Yeah. So in an effort to, I believe, in an effort to maybe make the rec rules look a little bit better, they learned from the med rules and made those things a little bit different, and then went back now and tried to clean up some of the med rules to make them look like the rec rules. But that's not what happened. What happened is
But wait, before we get all Mr. Negative, they have a website. And if you go on Google, and Chris, maybe you could bring up the page we're talking about. If you Google Colorado Marijuana Enforcement Division, it'll come right up, and you click on it. And the state's website, we can't give you the link because it's this big, long, blah, 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 gov.co / this and that.
But it's easy because you're going to go to the laws tab.
And when you'll see coming up in a second that they have a fairly decent page. Unfortunately, it moves on Wednesday, and
The
so we'll
first,
see what happens. But it's there, and so you can find these rules, and you can click on them. And just like the beginning of last week, up came that the new emergency rules that they've had public hearing on and had published, like they're supposed to. Those came up. And now they're final. And so I last week started to wade through them and print it out. But as you'll notice, because I think Chris has them up on the screen right now, there are two different places that you have some of these rules, like in particular Rule R103, which is a definition. You can load it up.
R is for rec, and if it was M103, it would be medical, which is a very easy
way to know what rule you're
determine
talking
which one
about.
is which. It's better than making one blue and one pink.
So under where it says,
Are you trying to read from the screen?
yeah, I can, and it's really hard. And I should just go to their friggin' revenue screen
You
because I
should
know that
post
Chris
the
is
link
showing
in
it
the-
up. He did. Under new medical permanent rules have been adopted, you will see that there's retail marijuana rules are 207 through 210. Retail marijuana rules are 103, are 211 through 212. And then right below that, retail marijuana rules. And again, it's R103, and then it goes into different rules. And it wasn't until we started to re-review for the show today that we printed out both sets of R103. And unfortunately, we have the shorter set, which is the one attached to 207 to 210. The shorter set because it's only 13 pages. And then we have R03 heading the longer set that is a set of rules that are actually 48 pages. And damn it, man, there's significant differences. And
Which one do you go? How do you know which one to go by?
you don't.
Yeah.
And as we go through it, I mean, right away, we have all these news reports about our concern for the children and making sure the packaging is child resistant, and we understand those needs. But it doesn't help when you go to the 13-page version of R103, and there's a section D versus
Section G describing
D says
the
labeled properly as required by the R1000 series.
when describing child resistant packaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no D under the other official version of 103. But that's just the start as well, because the thing where this started, I mean, the thing that jumped out at me, glaring, was a whole lot of the back and forth in this industry over these proposed rules has been how they were going to treat greenhouses and outdoor grows.
Right.
And as part of that, they were going to define immature plants and allegedly officially make them not part of the plant count. But when you go to the R103 that is attached to the 13-page download,
The short version.
yeah, you'll see it say immature plant means a non-flowering retail marijuana or medical marijuana plant that is no taller than 8 inches and no wider than 8 inches, produced from a cutting, clipping, or seedling. Plants meeting these requirements are not attributable to a licensee's maximum allowable plant count, but must be fully accounted for in the inventory tracking system. So as someone who works with, helps manage one of these, Georgia, what does that mean to you?
So it means that you need to put them in the system. You don't have to assign a number to them, but they need to show up in your system. So when you go to the
But
screen,
most
that
importantly,
shows-
they don't count against your plant count, right?
So if you have number one small store, you can have 3,600 recreational plants. So and that counts as soon as they move from the immature stage to the vegetative stage, I think.
Well, it maybe counts, or it maybe counts before that, because if you go to the R103 that's attached to the 48-page version of the download, it defines an immature plant as a non-flowering retail marijuana or marijuana plant that is no taller than 8 inches and no wider than 8 inches, produced from a cutting, clipping, or seedling, and doesn't say it's not part of your plant count. That's a pretty big difference.
That's
and
humongous.
One that,
That's humongous.
you know, if all are immature plants your plant count, or are they not your plant
Right.
count? And if you're over your plant count, Med's going to say you're committing a felony because those are illegal plants, and you can get charged criminally. You can lose your license. You can lose your livelihood. You can lose your badge. And so that plant count issue is pretty huge.
Well, and the immature plant thing is a big deal because a good grow will get will take 90% of those immature plants. They will be healthy enough to want to continue. A not so good grow, or someone that is really picky about the clones that they take, may only take 50% of those, and so ends up killing them. And you certainly don't want to, if you're doing hundreds of immature plants at a time, you don't want, even for a period of time, for those plants to count against you.
Well, and then unfortunately, this is kind of weird because in the shorter version, which we now think is the proper version, not sure yet.
Not sure.
But we think it is. And we think it is because you can not only get these printouts from the Marijuana Enforcement Division site, but you can go to the Secretary of State's website and find an independent page that allegedly lists all rulemaking changes. And when we went there, there's a Word download, which was kind of interesting in and of itself because you're getting a Word document that you could modify.
I was going to say you could, yeah.
But once you download that, it matches the version of 103 that's attached to the 13-page document. But what's interesting is the 13-page document does not define industrial hygienist, but that is in the longer document.
So what's a industrial hygienist?
I won't go into it because it's really long. It's like half a page, but it goes through an alleged, in the longer version of 103, it goes through a long definition of that. But then,
I wanted to bring it up because one of the things that has become kind of a big deal in Colorado is the idea of safely making concentrates and extracts using solvents. And one of the ways to do that, they have hired this job called an industrial hygienist that will determine whether or not a closed loop system meets a whole bunch of qualifications in order to do this safely.
Well, and there's an out as well in terms of an engineer doing the same. Mm-hmm. But it's just interesting that version doesn't have that in it because you'd think it would. Now, the shorter version has a definition of harvested marijuana, meaning a post-flowering retail marijuana not including trim, concentrate, or waste that remains on the premises of the retail marijuana cultivation facility or its offset premises storage location beyond 60 days from harvest. That harvested marijuana word isn't defined in the long version. In the version of Rule 103 that's attached to the long download.
So can I talk about why that's important really quick?
Yeah.
Well, so in the what's now called the metric system, the MIT system, which is the tracking system that the state requires everyone in the industry to use, there's a weird gap. And the gap is as soon as a plant is harvested, before anything happens to it, it's not tracked. So you have harvested all your plants, and all of that information is in there. And then until you start trimming it, there is no name or tracking or packaging for that harvested material.
Well, there is in one version of 103. There just isn't in the other version of 103.
No, I'm saying currently in metrics. That's why it's important to have that defined.
And yeah. So that's kind of the end of the real kind of shocking difference, because the rest, what we'd planned to go through was just kind of the rules changes, which were pretty mellow overall and much less harsh than we expected, particularly as to outdoor grows and greenhouses. It was just noticing this glaring difference between the two 103s and trying to recognize the effect that could have on the industry. On top of all of this is the fact that the Enforcement Division is saying they're changing their website location October 1st. So I'm not, I guess I know what that means, but I don't know what that means.
Or why.
But it's happening in a couple days and go from there. So do we need to take a commercial break right now, and then we'll come back and discuss some of these other kind of differences in the rules?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. I think people are really excited to hear about the changes in edibles and edibles packaging and what that's going to look like. So we'll come back with Warren Edson.
Well, it's going to have it's going to have an effect on some parts of the retail edible market. This is going to be a big difference.
Oh yeah, I've heard about some of this.
So it's Happy Monday on iCannabis Radio, and we'll be right back.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
So I wanted to also, hi, we're back, by the way. I wanted to talk about my dad's company.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't get over what's happening out there. It's way too
so
funny.
Pretty soon, Ronell is going to do an ad for my dad's company, right?
I am.
You are. That'd be
Yes, I
awesome.
am.
Do you still have the?
I have the paper right here.
Can I see it? Because I would love to talk from it if you have it. But we always talk about Cuffle Collimore and Company and how important it is to have insurance for a whole bunch of reasons. Thank you. My dad did these awesome things to have at Riot Fest. But they provide property insurance for your dispensary that includes theft. They provide liability insurance that includes product liability and professional liability. And they provide growers with crop insurance for your growing plants, so not just the stuff that's harvested. So if your insurance doesn't cover these things, boy, you should figure that out. Give them a call. 877-335-1234 or email my dad, Bob, at rtc@cufflecollimore.com. Best way to reach him again is 877-335-1234. And you can also check him out at mdispensaryinsurance.com.
Now, is this just for business or is this for personal grows too? Like if John Doe is needing insurance for his home grow because
I would call.
I would call. I mean, it's interesting to learn through George's dad how this stuff works in terms of once there's a big enough demand, somebody will cough it up, most of the time starting with Lloyd's of London. And as kind of we've talked about before, that's one of the issues with smoke clubs here in Colorado, is there really isn't an insurance for it that's the equivalent of a leave-it bar when you overserve somebody and they leave and get into an accident. There's insurance for bars for that, and there isn't the equivalent in a smoke club. Wow. And so, there's some general overall liability policies, but nothing really specific to that. And until we have that's one of the reasons Denver isn't allowing it underneath, and nobody's really mentioning is that, until and unless there's insurance, there is a legitimate concern for, city council guy or whoever to be like, dude, if somebody does
who's going to pay
somebody, who's the deep pocket?
Who's going to pay?
And, that's just the nature of a new industry. And, most bars wouldn't think about being open without that kind of insurance. And frankly, they are not allowed to.
But in order to get the insurance, you have to ask. And so the more times that brokers go and ask for these types of insurances, the more likely they are to eventually get someone to bite. So I would ask.
Yeah. There's your really boring insurance lecture for the day.
I love it. See, I find it
interesting.
I was going to say, I find it fascinating.
We saw it happen in this industry where there was no crop insurance. There was no theft insurance.
He was the first one.
There was no employee insurance. And it just took folks going over and over and over again until Lloyd said, hey. And then all of a sudden farmers and others said, hey. And now there's this. I'm thinking about how weird that is. I mean.
It's so cool.
Well, I couldn't be like making ecstasy in a lab and going and getting ecstasy insurance. But no, but we do it. So fun.
Right.
And it lets the industry run. Anyway, rules.
So let's go back to the rules. So let's recap just for a minute. So last week, the Marijuana Enforcement Division posted the new adopted rules on the webpage. They go, that was up earlier. They go into effect. Is it the 30th? Did you look? Is it the 30th of October?
It actually depends on kind of which rule it is.
Okay, I thought they said that the whole thing.
I think there was an overall, but then they changed some of the dates. So
right.
Stuff that was going in at one point is going in at a later point. So, just checked those dates.
So there is some time for people who need to make some adjustments to their business practices to go ahead and do so.
So it's not October 1st that they go in.
It's not October 1st that they go into effect. October 1st is when the Meds new web page.
And we're being numbskulls because we can. But of course that would mean we're counting on this site being right.
Right. It might. Don't look in two places. Just look in one and give us your first answer.
All above rules effective October 30th, 2014,
That's what I thought.
with the fact that you're reading it because specifically in regards to the what we're about to talk about in the second, the different in inventory management, that's where it talks about February 1st, 2015. So even though these go into effect, they're also it phases into effect within the rules. So I just didn't want our listeners to think it all went into effect as zap, you know?
And trust me, like this is great because they've done this before where they've posted something that went into effect the day before. We've all had surprises come ahead. So getting us till October 30th is great, and then the incremental starts of some of the rules that are within those new rules is great too.
Well, and I've been looking at the website all day, and I'm not sure this didn't just pop up, but there's now like a new website update.
Oh, excellent! Tell us.
What can I see? When can I see the new site? What can I expect to see? On Wednesday, October 1st, all Department of Revenue websites will have a new look and design. There will be a new, easier, and quicker way to navigate the information you need. Note, we did not change any applications such as Revenue Online, Vroom, DMV, Online Renewals, Casino, Easy File, etc. What will be changing? All content-related webpage and each divisional homepage. I need somebody to translate this.
I can tell you. I mean, here's what I think happened. So I don't know if you've been on the Department of Health's website recently. It's very soft.
Seriously, did you just ask me that?
I was looking at Rennell, but
Okay.
but I meant in general. So the Department of Health's website went from being very kind of harsh lines to very soft and user friendly and kind of pretty. I'm wondering if they're going to go to that same format.
Well, I am a customer. Do I need to update my bookmarks? Yes. That's the most important thing you need to know. But anyway, yeah, it's an ever-changing thing. And we're going to try to go through this. But again, it's funky because it's different depending on which version which thing you clicked on.
Right. So are you going to just go from the one that you got from the Secretary of State's office that you believe to be the most?
Well, we kind of went through the difference between the glaring differences between the two. I haven't had a time to sit down with a 48-page version, and there doesn't seem to be any other overlap. I think Rule 103 is the only one that's in. Wow, those are some fierce dogs.
They never bark.
Oh, it's because Chris is here. But anyway, good dogs.
Good dogs.
Good dogs.
Get them.
But anyway, we have to be careful of the Matt's part of Edson, Maton, and Matt's. They have different versions of this on here, but that's the only thing that's
fair
the
enough,
same thing. Because as anybody who is unfortunate enough to follow my Facebook page knows, my overall concern was that some of the previous things discussed had been a cap on outdoor grows and greenhouses, where they talked about capping businesses who had outdoor grows under the new recreational retail at total of 1,800 plants. No ability to increase that number, nothing. While the rest of the industry, meaning indoor, started at 3,600
Twice
plants
as much.
and topped out at what, 10,200 was the max top.
And it wasn't particularly difficult to apply to get a variance to increase that plant count if you could show sales numbers.
Well, yes and no, but it's a little frustrating because so basically I don't know why because I have some clients who we're planning on some outdoor grows because I think it's kind of unfair to, get in the way of outdoor grows because it's probably better environmentally outdoor grows.
Sure.
But at the same time, man, I can't keep the house plants in our house alive. They're all dead in the office. So I don't know in terms of quality wise for the consumer, which greenhouse, outdoor, whatever is going to be better. But overall, capping it at 1,800 plants seemed not very fair.
No.
After a whole lot of back and forth, they spit out stuff that wasn't discussed at all in previous models or in the public forum. But at the same point, I guess, well, except for some more confusion, overall it works for me because it puts everybody on the same page, starting it up to 3,600 plants, allowing you to go to 6,000 plants and then 10,200 plants. But in doing so, you have to show that in the last 6 months, you had been able to sell at least 85% of what you'd cured. So,
of what you cured. That's the term.
Produced. And so I guess it goes down to your internal operating documents, what you define as produced,
Production.
and at what point you say this is done. Because, as we've discussed in prior shows, and I won't get into it because it'd be another hour, there's a little bit of wiggle room in how you define that.
Right.
But then the solution gets a little confusing. Because basically, again, so everybody's aware, I'm referring to the 13-page document, download, whatever the hell this is, Rule 2, R211 of the MED final rules. Under production management, it talks about production management is 3, and then it has F and G. And it defines 2 different things: inventory management for retail cultivation licenses that harvest more than twice a year, and inventory management for retail cultivation facilities that harvest once or twice a year. Okay.
So there's the difference
More than
between,
twice or once or twice. And that's the difference.
between
The
a greenhouse
issue
or
is-
outdoor and
I mean, it appears to...
harvest once or twice a year.
an outdoor grow or a greenhouse may only harvest.
So that's the way they tried to define it.
Yep.
But then the rules are the same, because F is for something that harvests more than twice a year, and it says beginning February 1st, 2015, RMCF, retail marijuana cultivation facility, that harvests more than twice a year may not accumulate harvested marijuana in excess of the total amount of inventory the licensee produced that was transferred to another establishment in the previous quarter. Okay?
Huh?
Oh, one goes year, one goes quarter. There you go. Okay.
Yep.
So the more than once does quarter,
And the other's 85%.
once or twice is a year. So there's the difference that I was lame enough to not realize until we read it for the 57th time.
Sometimes you got to read it out loud. Say it out loud.
It's true.
Well, and we're also have to assume this is from the 13-page document. We can hope that this is actually the true, real final rules.
We know it's not.
Well, it's never final. I mean, I should never say final, and they should frankly not use final. It
Right.
should say current with a date.
Right.
Because we're about to get to a new legislative session, and, we should see a whole lot of changes there. As someone who deals with this, Georgia, on a management level, do you want to talk about kind of how they clarified packaging, or do you want me to try to go through that?
So I'll give the overview, and if you want to do the specifics. So one of the things that was a little bit challenging about packaging is that the medical rules were slightly different than the recreational rules. So the medical rules said that you needed to put something in a child-resistant container. And then they have a definition for child-resistant. It meets the standard. It means that a bunch of 5-year-olds took a certain amount of time. That was tested.
And under the short version of 103, it requires adherence to Rule R1001. Under the other version, you don't need to do that. But anyway, go.
So the recreational rules said that it needed to go, that if the product needed to go out in a child-resistant exit package. So rather than a container, the exit package needed to be child-resistant. So now they have made it so both need to go out in an exit packet. If the product is not in a child-resistant container, it must go out in a child-resistant exit package.
Well, and that when we touch on this, we should talk about how they did change the definition of opaque, and that matches in both. So
Now it
yay,
matches.
mad.
Now it matches.
It means that the packaging does not allow the product to be seen without opening the packaging material.
Well, and so one of the reasons
In both
why
versions of 103.
in both versions.
Yes.
So one of the things that happen is there's lots of places used packages that were opaque on one side and clear on the other, so you could actually see the product, especially edibles companies, so that you could actually see this beautiful brownie that you were getting. Well, it couldn't go out in a package like that. Now it means that if you put something between the product and the clear side, you could use that as a package because, or as child-resistant package, because you couldn't see the package or the product until you actually opened up the child-resistant package, right?
I mean, you know that better than I
Yeah.
do because you have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. But that we're trying to be fair. That's some good
I mean, that
stuff.
is
That's
fair.
some good
That is
stuff.
fair.
It cleans stuff up. Now, I mean, we're about to get into the fact that testing got loosened up for better or worse.
Right.
You know, I mean, part of the problem is that we don't have a lot of research, so we don't know what's good and bad. But, God, I'd like to protect the consumer a little bit.
Can I just interject?
No, we're not going to get there yet because I got one thing
testing?
before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm trying to go through them so that folks can follow along
Yes, please.
by numerical order.
If they're
right?
playing the home game, you want to make sure that they know.
Yes. And now we are done with the little 13-page packet because that dealt with the weirdness of them getting rid of that whole indoor-outdoor grow, just went to that new distinction, and now we're into the long packet, which appears to be flawed, but we're hoping this part is correct because we don't know any better right now. And again, we're dealing with documents that we downloaded after 5 o'clock today to make sure we had the latest and greatest.
So approximately an hour and a half ago.
Yes. Mountain time, right?
Yeah.
So R604, this is going to have the most effect on the industry, I think, more than anything. And that's retail marijuana products manufacturing facility, health and safety regulations. There's now under C, product safety, C5, multiple serving edible retail marijuana products. A retail marijuana product manufacturing facility must ensure that each single standardized serving of marijuana or multiple serving edible retail marijuana product is physically demarked, note.
Wait, sorry. An edible or a product. So we've been talking edibles. You said it's also product.
I'm reading what I'm reading.
So that means
Edible retail marijuana product. What's an edible other than liquid?
Oh, I thought you said or just product. Okay, so it was edible on both sides. I was thinking if they're
But if you buy a bag of weed and it's like, well, this has 3.5 marijuanas in it.
No, you guys are right. Because look, wait. No, but it's this is only retail marijuana products manufacturing facility. So this is only applying to
Right.
a retail MIP. Must ensure that each single standardized serving of marijuana, which is weird because they aren't supposed to provide standardized servings of marijuana. But then it
Right.
says of a multiple serving edible retail marijuana product. That's the second line.
Okay, edible retail marijuana product. Okay.
Multiple serving edible retail marijuana product is physically demarked in a way that enables a reasonable person to intuitively determine how much of the product constitute a single serving of active THC. Each demarked standardized serving of marijuana must be easily separable in order to allow an average person 21 and over to physically separate with minimal effort individual servings of a product.
You know who's going to have a real problem with that besides everybody? Last night when we were up at the Secret Cup down in the Springs.
Up at the Secret Cup down in the Springs.
Yeah, however that worked. Well, you get lifted, so I don't know, whatever, however that works.
Dude.
The Buddy Crocker lady sells these cupcakes. That
yeah.
Were like
No.
Peace out to the cupcakes.
Cupcakes,
that's all.
cookies. I mean, it's going to
No. Companies are already doing this. This is what I'm so excited about. People are they have so much ingenuity.
they'll
They're
adapt.
doing cookie bites.
Okay.
So instead of doing a cookie, and I'm gonna advertise for this company, Caregivers for Life has already determined that their cookie wasn't going to be easily meeting the standard, so they're doing 10 milligram cookie bites.
And
Bing.
And hopefully it's homogenous.
Hopefully it's homogenous.
But I mean, one of the most popular products is Chiba Chews. That's going to be hard to make
Super
easily
hard.
separable.
Super hard.
Lollipops. What the hell do you do with lollipops?
make them super weak.
Yeah, so
You
they're
have
going to
to
all
eat
be 10.
25
They're going to be like
lollipops.
dum-dums.
They're going to have
They're
to
gonna be
be
less than.
'cause
Well, they might be like Dum Dums, and
Like a bouquet.
you're gonna have to eat the entire Dum Dum.
But-
Even though they really would have only had to have made it like the size of your fingertip to have gotten 10 milligrams.
Well, could they, if they were to do that with gobstoppers, like, so say somebody were to figure out how to make a gobstopper. So you got the jawbreaker that changes colors. And so it's like, okay, it's green, that's 100 milligrams, and you suck on it,
That'd
and
be
it changes
disgusting.
red.
You'd have to be taking it out of your mouth all the time to look what color it is. And then you're going to forget. Oh, shit. What color was it last time? I don't know. I'd better take it out of my mouth.
On that note, let's
Well,
take a
about
quick.
gummy stuff? I mean, be it lozenges, bears, or whatever, you can't divide that.
But
crap
those
up.
are
Nope.
small enough
But they
that they
could
can
be-
keep.
yes.
They're going to be
10,
10 milligrams.
keep on a
That's what's going
small
to happen.
thing, but
Let's
the-
take a quick break because
No.
everyone's super intrigued about what's going to happen with edibles. So you're listening to iCannabis Radio. It is Happy Monday.
on the last Monday of
It's
stupendous
Unhappy
September.
Monday.
No, it's always Happy Monday.
It's rainy. It's rainy day Monday. Happy Monday. So there for
So
all
are we
you
having
Eeyore
Riot
fans.
Fest again? I mean, it's like Riot Fest weather. Why aren't they coming back?
We'll be right back.
Hurricanes, tornadoes.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
I want you to
Hi.
talk about how nice the park is.
Thank you so much for coming back to listen to Warren Edson talk to Jeremy and I about the rules. Warren likes to make sure that we know the rules. So we were just talking a little bit about the changes in
It's easier to break them when we know what they are.
That's,
Yeah, I don't-
there's the jokes.
I'm
are
not that
immense,
person.
you
I'm
know.
not that person. Rules are meant to be followed. I know how you guys laugh. I am not one of you. I don't get it. How are you guys my friends?
If only the government would listen.
I know, right?
You know, if they played by that, I could see going, oh, okay. You know, like, right.
Oh, here we go.
Or how about if they will enforce them? But anyway, blah, blah,
So
blah,
we
blah,
were just
blah.
talking
Go.
about the new rules to ensure that if a child does indeed get an edible, that they're going to know when they have 100 milligrams because
Well,
they're going to have 10 pieces.
And the
they're going to look at
background
that candy bar and
synopsis.
go, yeah.
And the background synopsis of the last half an hour has been that the Med has screwed up the definition of 103, and there's different things in different places, so we're not quite sure what the heck to tell you.
Crossing
that
our fingers.
Safety, that exit packaging is a little cleaner and easier to understand. And as we're about to talk about, that edible folks on the rec side, we're going to lose some products.
You know what? And
Oh,
that's what I
but
thought.
most importantly, how did I forget? They didn't screw over greenhouses and outdoor grows.
Yay! So I'm not so sure we're going to lose products. I think that these companies are going to think through really clearly what it is that they need to do to meet some of these rules. I know that one of the first questions that people have are, what about drinks? Seriously, this is our life
Our
right
fan
here.
club.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Stinky 1 and Stinky 2. Now that they're done.
Head is so big.
So I don't know how GNU makes Boone naked every single week. Every single week, Boone ends up naked. Not you, GNU. You keep your clothes on, but my dog, naked.
No collar, no identification.
Exactly.
Good to see your ID, sir.
Well, and is it Boone kicking it off, going, I don't want to be, cops show up, I'm out of here.
You don't know who I am.
He's well trained
Right?
You see
on that
nothing.
only.
But I think that these companies have been thinking about this for a little while, knowing that this was coming down the pike, and I've heard a lot of questions about what's going to happen with drinks because
I guess, but how do you think about it when right now we sit here after they've been officially published and we don't even have a final version
know,
because they
I
don't
know.
match? So, I mean, you can think about it, but you'd better think about the right one.
that's
So
right. You better think about it
Flip
correctly.
that coin.
But what about something like a tincture? So right now on the med side or on the rec
But
side,
we know it talks. I mean, there are rules about it, and it talks about how you have to have some way to realize what is an ounce, what is a serving, however the servings break
ounce?
down. Well, it depends. If you have 10 ounces and there are 10 servings in it, there would be 10 markings on the bottle because it actually
10
lays out in here how.
Yeah.
I mean-
so if they had the straws that tinctures come in,
Yeah.
and they marked that 10
Mm-hmm.
lines on there, if indeed they could be sure that each one of those lines was 10 milligrams.
Well-
similarly to how you do children's cough syrup and those kinds of things.
Or not that it's an ad, but I mean, we see Stranahan's whiskey and they have their shot glass on the top, and it has a marking for an ounce or 125, which is a serving. They could have a little top like that, like the kids' cough medicines, where you pull it off and marks it. So that they can make that work.
I think they're going to be really creative. I think things like brownies, we're going to see again, just like we've seen with the cookies. We're going to see brownie bites.
But do they have to be marked? Like,
No,
does the
if-
brownie
if
bite
it-
have to be?
If it's
Yes.
already 10 milligrams.
But does it have to state on it?
No,
Like,
it'll state on the package.
On the
You know,
package.
like each brownie bite. Now, what's weird though is if they break up. You know, if you squish the package up in shipping or sitting.
But then you
or
have
whatever.
less than 10 milligrams.
No, you have a bag of crumbs, and how the hell do you know what's
Well,
what?
then how do you know? But like a candy bar, like if you got a Hershey's candy bar, it comes in, it's already scored, and you can break it open. So candy bars will do things like that.
I guess, but so you go. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing's just weird.
I think
mean,
that a
how many
reasonable
times
adult-
do you send the little things with kids to school, and it's in the brownie bag, and it gets and it's all mushed up, or you go camping yourself, you open up the bag, and all the chips are broken.
But they're talking about reasonable. I think that they're talking about. I think that they're going to be reasonable. That in the store it looks like this. If you
Wait,
get it,
you just said med's going to be reasonable.
Well,
okay,
and
we're
if
quoting her
that's
on
the
that.
word
Right.
that we
Like,
have
Write
to,
that
we need
down.
a clip.
Write that down.
if we have to gray area that one, it's going to be
So-
a weird year.
We can wrap up the rest of this pretty quick because I mean the rest of it was loosening up the testing rules, where things like butane went from an acceptable 50 parts per million to an acceptable 800 parts per million.
800 parts per million. That's how much butane can be left in your wax and shatter and crap.
Well, the one that it doesn't freak me out, but it's just interesting that we went from percentages as to pesticides, chemicals, microbials, molds, mildew, filth, to this definition that reads, if testing identifies the use of a banned pesticide or the improper application of a permitted pesticide, then that test batch shall be considered to have failed contaminant testing. How does a testing determine improper application?
We use this here cyanide improperly by spraying it through a
gets
weed
better.
garden sprayer instead of a flamethrower.
How about
top sprayer.
molds, mildew, filth? They now used to have percentages. Now it reads, if a test batch is found to contain levels of any mold, mildew, or filth that could be toxic if consumed, then that test batch shall be considered to have failed contaminant testing.
So-
no, there's no definition for could be toxic or toxic or.
Well, finally, you
Wow,
figured it
breaking
out.
through.
So what happened was in testing, when you are doing potency testing, you either pass or fail. You either got it tested or you didn't. And so now they're doing a similar thing with pesticides, correct? You either pass or you fail.
So how do you know when a mold or mildew is toxic or not? How do you know when 8,000
Right.
spider legs becomes toxic or not?
So-
I don't know, but I
so
don't
does-
think anybody else does.
When does microbial and pesticide testing go into effect? Because they talked about
October 30th.
okay.
'Cause, I mean,
Because Louis Koski talked about pushing it back. It was October 1st, so now they've pushed it back to October 30th.
Ooh, now the labs have like 7 days, more days or whatever to figure this out. I mean, this is nuts. And I mean, now we went from punishing the industry to potentially punishing the consumer.
Oh, here's the irony that I wanted to just.
And there's no, I mean, we'll have to go back through the big rules because it doesn't have all the rules. But 712, which is what the overall section we're talking about, has no date on it.
Yeah, it used to be October
It says
1st.
beginning July 1st.
Testing began July 1st, but went into effect incrementally.
Because we're not talking about potency. We're
Right, I
just
understand.
talking about the other stuff.
Well, potency went into effect June 1st.
Even in Durango.
Right.
But in
So, what's ironic to me is that testing is required on the retail side, not on the medical side. If I'm a medical patient,
That loophole that is medical marijuana. I mean, that's what you're hearing in the paper today.
that loophole,
That medical marijuana is a loophole.
loophole.
So that gives you an idea how our state feels about medical marijuana.
It's a loophole.
And just as a quick public service announcement from Twirling Hippie Confections, July 1st, 2015, the medical marijuana rules are set to sunset.
We talked about the sunset.
Yeah, unless they get renewed. That renewal is going to require an audit of med. In order to that audit, it's probably going to take a little while, and our legislative session starts January 1st and ends May. So they'd better get going on that audit, or we really might see medical marijuana rules sunset, which means all medical marijuana stores would have to close, and there would be no such thing as a medical marijuana dispensary grower med.
Nor would there be any ability for those stores just to automatically turn to a retail store, because if they're in
Colorado Springs,
if they're in
where
areas
medical's
that
banned, or excuse me, where recreational's banned.
then they're just out of luck.
Or if there's folks here in Denver who chose not to convert for whatever reason, maybe to help patients.
Because it's
or
really,
just-
really expensive.
Yeah, and so they will be screwed. They'll have to convert. But anyway, that's a whole nother
I
tinfoil
stay
hat.
medical for that very reason. I can still get a $35 eighth, $30 eighth, not a fucking $65, $70 eighth, $80 gram of hash. Fuck that.
Here's the part that really sucks. They're calling it a loophole, yet they still tax medical marijuana. I mean, they don't tax your Vicodin, your penicillin, your Percocet. They don't tax that.
Right, so who's it a loophole for?
Well, we gave,
them,
the medical
right?
marijuana community
way.
gave up something to get medical marijuana, and that was like, okay, we'll accept your 7% tax and pay a frigging tax. And now, because they get a 30% tax plus or minus on recreational, all of a sudden medical becomes a loophole, and we start hearing this language about patients faking it and whatever. No.
But there's never any question or pointing to any of the big pharma stuff. We don't have to sign up for a special database to go get Vicodin.
You don't pay
or
tax on
Oxys.
Sativex.
No tax.
You don't
on
pay
any of
tax
that.
on Marinol.
No. Imagine that.
But anyway.
So who's
And
the
actually,
loophole
your
really
insurance
for?
company will cover both of those. Wow.
And your employer can't fire you unless
Right.
you're showing up at work intoxicated.
Right.
But anyway. Can I finish my bitching so you guys can then finish the rest of your show?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So finally, just, as a case in point, and it's kind of irking us who live in 5 Points and Orsno and Whittier and Curtis Park,
Those are the areas of Denver that surround
are affected
us.
by this decision. The beginning of this, actually last spring, Kaboom, like if you have a kid, you know what Kaboom is.
You guys know Kaboom? Uh-huh.
Okay, it's like they have products for kids for hand cleaning and all sorts
Butt
of
cleaning.
soap and butt cleaning and diaper cleaning and head wash and whatever. They had
Kaboom!
they had a pretty interesting deal where they came to a number of neighborhoods in Denver and said, hey, if you can raise $10,000 through your neighborhood association, to improve a local park. And then they had a timeline of the worker bees that they needed to volunteer to help do park work. Once you get 10,000, we'll donate an additional $90,000 for a total of $100,000 to fix up
To refurbish a park.
park for free. And we live in something called Orsno, Old San Rafael neighborhood. And it's this little chunk of about 13 blocks just to the east of Welton Street, above downtown in Denver. And they made this offer to us on, we only have one park, and it's the Quick Park, and it's at the corner Ogden and 26th. And, well, Georgia, Georgia had
it's a
more
small-
experiences there than me. It's about a block and a half from our house, and again, the only park near
It's a small
our
park.
house.
It's got a couple of basketball courts.
It's got one court, two hoops.
One court, two hoops, and it's about half a block wide and half a block long. It's got a couple swings and some slides, and it's a pretty basic small park. Also, picnic tables and benches and those kinds of things. And the equipment isn't particularly old. Just none of it's particularly interesting. However, it has become a hangout in the neighborhood.
It's been forever.
It's-
Our kids.
the spot.
It is the spot. It is the spot. And I have to say, because it's the closest park to our house, I took my son there a lot, and I didn't do it once. I didn't do it twice. I probably did it 10
we'll
times.
cut to the chase. There's a lot of open air drug use there. And it's a weird situation because the people are pretty nice. But,
I ask them all the time,
you
please
roll
stop
through and
smoking the
they're
crack while
smoking
I'm
crack and they're
pushing my
shooting
son
up
on
and
the
their needles
swing.
on the
You're
ground.
judging that everybody in the park smoking crack.
No,
we're
only when I'm
not.
seeing people smoking crack.
No,
When it sounds
it's
like-
more when you go there, they're sitting there.
And I mean, there's needles there, and this is where kids are supposed to hang out.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like you're trying to imply that parks are just for kids. Like that's got to be a safe place for grown-ups to go to, and
We have a needle exchange.
maybe these guys can't do their crack at home. Do you ever think about that? They don't
Yeah.
have a safe
Grandma's
place to
not
do it, so
allowing
they
you
go
to
to
do
the
crack
park.
at the house anymore.
Right, so they have to go to the park.
Yeah, not saying that
Well, and
I am saying that this is a place for kids. I absolutely am saying this is a place for kids and the neighborhood. And so because there's
Well, let's
significant.
not be wrong. I mean, they stopped when you'd ask.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
super
it's a
nice.
regular occurrence,
Absolutely,
you
they
know?
would tell me that I have a pretty baby.
Yeah,
and I did.
And
Excuse me,
Yeah.
they
sir.
were cool,
Stop
but
smoking
that's-
crack for 5 minutes, please.
No, that's
Thanks.
exactly what I would do.
No, I mean, it
Absolutely.
was.
Actually, I was probably a
But-
little.
5 minutes.
okay.
Like, stop smoking crack in general. But like right now, I need you to relocate your crack doing
I mean, let's get to the point, though, because, see, the bummer part was the neighborhood association actually raised this friggin' $10,000. And we took it to the city and said, cool, let's do this.
We got
And
this.
not only on top of that, but we set aside, I mean, this Kaboom thing required us to do a lot of work and have people ready.
But
So-
all they wanted is to show that the neighborhood would
Supporting
contribute
it. Yeah.
contribute a tenth of the cost of refurbishing
But
the park.
where I'm going is we actually, I'm on the neighborhood association, we set aside projects we were going to do because we thought we were going to need volunteers to do help with the refurbishing of the park. And then, unfortunately, we ran into a logjam with the city where, May went by. We asked city representatives what's going on, what's the status. They said, we'll get back to you. June went by. They said, we'll get back to you. July went by. There was no answer at all. August went by, and we contacted them, and the response was, what? You heard it was canceled? Because, I mean, we were given a timeline way back in April that said this had to be timelined by the end of May, and here we are August and not getting any answers. And so the city said, where have you heard this? And then since August, we've had no response from anybody from the city.
And just to be clear,
to the status of this project.
The city didn't have to contribute a
Anything.
dime, not a
No.
dime, not a person, not a thought, nothing other than to approve the ability for this company to come in and refurbish this park, overhaul this park.
And it would have been nice to at least have some answers as to why we're here. As an attorney, I'm always good at guessing. The city's had a pretty strict policy about advertising in parks. My guess is something's going to trickle out that Kaboom wanted a plaque or wanted something there that the city considered advertising. But again, I'm guessing if that's in fact the case, this whole advertising thing needs to be reanalyzed and get a whole lot more subjective as to each individual offer and what effect it has on the park goer. But again, the overall concern of the neighborhood associations, we don't know. And this isn't just me. Other people in the neighborhood association have tried to figure out what the heck's going on. I'm not even the president of the group, but we don't know, and we're not getting an answer from the city. And now this opportunity's gone, and it sucks.
And let me be clear that this neighborhood is a historically impoverished neighborhood. We aren't a new neighborhood. This isn't a new park. And so this would have been an amazing opportunity to put some money into an area. I mean, there is Section 8 housing literally right across the street.
Councilman Brooks' office is across the street. DMV is across the street. All of Welton's trying to go through this huge renovation project, and this would have just fit in so well without the city having to pay a cent.
Well, and I'm pretty frustrated with our councilperson, Albus Brooks, who you would think it would be an enormous, kudos to him to have this brand new park provided in his district. But not only does he not seem interested, I mean, maybe because he doesn't live in the park in the area, and his kids wouldn't play at this park. I don't know.
They must, because his office is across the street.
I can't imagine why else he has little kids. He knows how important it is to have a nice, attractive
Just so it's clear
park.
to my fans and friends, this isn't just another situation where I'm bitching out of nowhere. I mean, this is something where we sought answers for 4 months directly from these folks and not gotten answers before we had to start complaining like this.
Oh, it's heartbreaking to me. It's absolutely heartbreaking to me.
Well, I'm not looking forward to explaining this to the old San Rafael neighborhood. Oh, yeah, we could have had a $100,000 park for a plaque, but sorry, man.
Well, and it's this particular
These people
park.
are nice.
This particular park, you see people play basketball, but there aren't enough lights to be
Go
able
to Google. You will see people playing basketball in the image because I went there today.
But the rest of the park is pretty nothing. It's kind of a poor use of space. The other thing that's really interesting is
Yeah, I'll fight with you over that. It's not bad. I
thought
mean,
you
they have
just
that
said
weird
crack
voice
people
thing
were
under. There's at least some trees.
it could definitely benefit from a $100,000 overhaul. It would be amazing with a $100,000 overhaul. Here's the other thing that's really interesting. So the park is called Quick Park.
No, and I wasn't able to confirm that.
Okay.
If somebody can tell us who Lenore B. Quick was, I actually tried to Google that and figure that out today, and I'm embarrassed to say I couldn't find answers. There's a Head Start school program that's under that name, but I couldn't find any quick answers, and that's embarrassing
quick
because
answers.
we've lived there for a long time. Not funny.
Well, just, if you're interested in at least letting the city council know that you think that this was a really horrible missed opportunity.
Or just tell us what happened, because
Wait, you didn't hear. Wait, I said if you're interested in telling the city council that you think this is a missed opportunity, or if you want the city council to respond to us as to why they dragged their feet so long that this opportunity went away, please feel free to contact them. All of their
And they don't need to respond to us if they're now pissed off at us. They can respond to the ORSNO, the neighborhood association. We're licensed, right?
I don't know.
Registered neighborhood association.
I'm a constituent. I live in the city. I pay taxes and I vote. I want them to respond to me. I think Elvis Brooks has.
Okay.
Well, I mean, his job, Elvis Brooks' job is
No,
to.
it isn't. You sound like somebody who's like, you work for me when they're.
No,
talking
I
about
don't mean
a
that.
public
His job is
servant.
to respond to his constituents. That's what he does.
Well,
so when you call your city council person, the reason why they then get upset and bring something to city council is because people have called them and said that they're concerned about something.
So respond to the neighborhood organization, and they can respond to all the citizens, so you don't have to call everybody in the neighborhood, because frankly, everybody's pissed off.
Fair enough. But yeah, wouldn't that have been cool if we would have gotten this great new park?
Yes. Ironic as it is, I've been watching
You
that
can't find it on the
stupid
Google
show
map.
on
Like,
Netflix
it's not
called
on
Parks
there.
and Recreation, which is a really funny show. So I was really hoping that this was going to be a really happy story. Like, oh, we got this, and the parks people came out and they built this new park and everything was great. Nope. It's just standard real life. Real life Parks and Recreation is not the bullshit fake stuff that's on TV. That's fake, and the woman that is silly, and it's fun. Real life
that's not what happened.
is government,
That's
and
right.
it's just crap.
That's right.
I'm
Thank
done.
you, thank you so much,
I've
Warren.
done
If
enough
people want to get in
complaining
touch
for
with
the
you, if they have some questions, what's the best way for them to
Call
reach
Greg.
you? At 303-831-8188. You can also check them out on their Facebook page and their webpage. And Warren Edson, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Warren.
We definitely.
Oh, you're welcome.
We definitely want you guys to remember that the Adam Dunn Show starts at 11:30 Mountain Time on Wednesday.
Oh, and we have to make sure we don't schedule clients, because those people.
Those Adam Dunn Show people, they're cray-cray. And then, of course, the Hemp Connoisseur magazine
thought about that.
at 4 o'clock on Thursday, and we'll be back on Monday. If you are interested in doing a show, oh my gosh, give us a ringy-dingy. We would love to talk to you. Same with if you're interested in advertising.
What did we call October? Outrageous? October?
Outstanding October?
Outstanding?
I don't know.
Outstanding sounds better. Outrageous sounds like
Crazy.
There's a cartoon character from the Cleveland show.
So I think every
outrageous
Monday in
Right.
October we are going to dress in costume because Halloween is the greatest holiday known to
Thank
man.
God. I'm glad that you said it.
Yeah.
Because as
Love
soon as I
Halloween.
would have thought it, I would have texted you and said, knock, knock. You'd have said, who's there? And said, the dress up people. And you said, the dress up people who? And I'd have said, us, silly.
Yep. So
Like,
next
no joke,
Monday you will
just-
see us all in costume. Us all in costume. Do you hear that?
Chris,
Chris? I
doesn't
already
matter
know-
if you're on camera
I
or
alree
not.
know what you can be.
I'm not a
Ronell,
producer.
Dressing in costume every Monday in October. Got it?
You want to be
Costume.
a part of this channel, man. You got to
Costume.
dress up with us.
hard.
That's
Yeah.
not hard, he says. That's what I
All
like
right.
to hear.
And it has to be something different than you can't dress up and be like, I'm a football player. Or
No, he has to be a football player.
well,
Gavin
yeah,
will
if
be
you do
so-
that, you have to come in the pads.
Gavin will
You
be
can't
so
just wear
excited.
a jersey and say, I'm dressed up. I've tried that with my hockey jerseys once.
That's
I said, I'm a
lame.
hockey player.
You
And
have
that's
a lot of hockey
exactly.
jerseys. I know because I packed them all.
I have a pile of them.
Yeah.
But that's why I cheated it one year. And I said, look, I'm a hockey player who's not playing right now. And that was lame as all shit.
Now,
So
if
that's
you were
why I
naked
said,
underneath,
no.
that'd be funny, and that would have
Well,
been
I'm
good.
naked under my clothes all the time.
No, just the jersey.
Oh.
Thanks our sponsors, Edson, Maton, and Mats. Noda Urban Garden Supply, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Yay! Jerry's going to come in town on Wednesday. Run on Grass, and of course, Cuffle Collmore and Company.
And, we don't often give enough thanks to marijuana. So I'd like to thank marijuana.
Just one marijuana or all
just
the marijuana?
just one marijuana, because it's Monday, and I know that Monday seems like a day that you should attack it with like 4 or 5 marijuanas, but I mean Monday night is fine, and maybe Tuesday morning, and after work Tuesday, or maybe during break. But Monday, 1 or 2 marijuanas, 3 at most, like possibly 4
Of the marijuanas.
of marijuanas. But 5 is too many for Monday.
Have him ask you where you're going to be tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna be tomorrow night?
You want to hear me roar?
Sure. Are you a tiger?
You're going to the circus, or is Katy Perry
Tomorrow
in
is the
town?
Katy Perry show,
Oh,
and I'm making
snap.
Gavin wear a tutu. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Oh, it's like,
I mean,
where
I'm
is
going to
it?
Katy Perry, but I'm not making her wear a tutu.
Where's the show?
At the Pepsi Center.
Nice.
I got me some girls.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna go to the Katy Perry show.
Some of them front row tickets.
Got a box.
Got even better. Alcohol paid for.
There's a joke
Got
there.
a box.
So,
So be jealous. Be jealous.
as a quick public service announcement,
I offered Warren $20 if he could sing a Katy Perry song, and he could not do it.
Not one?
Gavin got $20, not
Nice.
one.
Oh man.
He said, is there something about a lion?
I got the roar one.
You said, is there something about a lion?
right? It was from the Lion King.
Is there something about a lion? It was so good. Yeah. All right.
Well, all right.
It's our time to go.
It is. It's 6:59 Mountain Time Monday. I got 6:59. Oh, there at 7.
Chris is
Just
ready
changed.
to go. Chris is ready to go to the home.
Right. So let's get on out of here. Mwah. Have a splendid evening. We'll see you in October.
See you in October.
Bye.